garden in their kitchen or in their backyard.
What's an herb garden?
Herb garden.
Herb garden.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
I will in the spring.
Sorry.
Good. So today Kyle's going to talk a little bit about some good herbs to grow, how to use them, give you some kind of ideas. A lot of times when we use kind of like sauces, that kind of stuff that you buy, they have a lot of hidden sugars, hidden salt. So using fresh things that you can grow straight in your kitchen is a much better and healthier alternative.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So as Joanne said, we're talking a lot about herbs today. I actually just finished planting all my herb gardens on my balcony this past weekend. Had to bring everything in because it froze over the week on Monday and Tuesday. So the first thing we're gonna make are actually some pickled radishes. I wanted to put this recipe in here because if you ever grow herbs, you know a lot of them tend to take off over the middle of the summer when we really start getting some good weather. So I just wanted to talk about pickling. I think we're at a good time of the year right now. We're getting out of the winter vegetables, so the radishes, the beets, we're kind of starting to see the last of everything local that you're going to get, as well as just pickling in general, because I actually have a few different herb pickles up here, which is actually a very good way to the extra herbs you have getting towards the end of the summer. Like I said, when things tend to take off growing and you have an abundance in your garden. So I actually have some pickled tarragon, sage, rosemary, as well as some pickled green onions up here, as well as being a good way to save or preserve the herbs themselves. It's also a very good way. Gives you the vinegar. The flavored vinegars are very good in dressings and salads, as well as everything. So we're going to start off with the pickled radishes here. So as I said, I've got some of the last pickled radishes we have for the year. I'm going to start off just adding to my pan here a little bit of our vinegar, just a tiny pinch of sugar, and just a touch of salt. So this you just want to bring up to a boil till everything melts together and combines, and then we can shut that off. While that's going, I just have my jar. A couple of our radishes already in there. I'm going to add a few cloves of garlic right to the middle. And this is, again, where your herbs, just whatever you like in here. Tarragon's one of my favorite herbs. I put that in a lot of pickles that I make. You can add different spices and stuff as well. So here I'm actually going to just add to my jar a little bit of thyme, rosemary, as well as tarragon right to that. So we'll get them right in the middle of everything so that it seeps through. And then we'll top off our jar with a few more radishes. So anything that's firm that you're pickling, like a radish or a beet, you do kind of want to cut it down in size a little bit. That way it does get the vinegar through all the way through it. All right. So, thank you. Okay, so now we have our jar. You just want to make sure that you have enough room at the top of your jar to make sure that your vinegar covers it. So again, while this is getting hot, we need a little more liquid than that. Okay. So has anybody started their garden yet at home? No? Yeah. So I just have a balcony right now, and I don't get a ton of sun. I've tried planting tomatoes and peppers and stuff, and they didn't really yield anything just because of the lack of sun. So right now I have planted tarragon, thyme, rosemary, oregano, marjoram, mint, chives. I think I have like 10 different herbs. So, anything that you like the flavor of, and will generally, herbs grow pretty well around here. So, all right. So our liquid's right here. So this, again, you just want to top off. Okay. Just top this off with the vinegar. So again, you just want to make sure you have everything covered very well. And then you just set your lid on here. And if you plan on saving them, what you're going to want to do is just, as you're pickling anything, just set this jar in a pot of steaming or boiling water for 2 or 3 minutes until it seals itself before you put the lid on. If you're going to eat them within a couple weeks, you're fine. Just place it in your refrigerator. So, and when we serve these to you today, I actually have one of my favorite herb recipes. My favorite herb sauces is Argentinian chimichurri that we'll have on the plate for that. I don't have that recipe on the paper. We will email that out though for a healthy you. It's just it's a blend of cilantro, parsley, garlic, a little bit of shallot, vinegar, and oil. So it's a very simple recipe, but it adds a lot of flavor. Very good alternative as a sauce on meats, chicken. It's very good with fish during the summer. So those are our pickles. Okay. So our next recipe, let me get this started. I'm just going to start getting a pot of water boiling. We're going to do a roasted lemon salad. So right now, we're right in the middle of citrus season. Obviously, we don't get anything locally, but we can. There's a lot of very good citrus fruits in Florida right now. So we're going to do some nice lemons. So I'm going to start with my mandolin here. Very good tool, very useful in the kitchen if anybody doesn't have one. It's basically just a horizontal blade, and you can set the depth to slice something consistently, however you want it. So this is going to give us nice, perfect, consistent slices with our lemon. So just run some slices off of here. Let me do one more. Yes. I've seen plenty of people missing fingertips by the time they're done. So luckily I'm okay today. All right, so we're going to take these. So first step we want to do is just take them, steep them in a little bit of water. So that's going to remove a good amount of the acidity to the lemon, just blanching them real quick. So we're going to let them go for about 2 minutes. And then, oh yeah, it'll really cut anything. And so it has this one has 2 little knobs on it, so you can just set the depth of what you want, how thick you really want it to cut. It's just nice. It'll give you something consistent all the time. So, all right. So these now these have been blanched for about 2 minutes. They should be, so the rinds on these should start to become a little bit less yellow. It's kind of removing some of the bitter oils and stuff out of the rind, as well as the acidity out of the stem. So from there, we're just going to take a tiny bit of salt, tiny bit of sugar, again, just to counteract some of the acidity that's left in there, and a little bit of olive oil. So we're just going to toss these together, and then you want to lay them nice and flat on a cookie sheet with a parchment paper. If you have a Silpat at home, Silpat's great for this. It'll keep it from sticking. And so we're going to lay them out. Take a couple leaves of our sage right here. Just do a nice little chiffonade with that and sprinkle them right on top. And then we'll bake this off in the oven at 350 degrees for 15 to 20 minutes. You just want them to, once they start turning brown, you want to pull them out. That's just about when they're good to go. You don't want to really dry them out too much. You just want to mellow out the flavor of the lemon. If you wanted to cut them a little thicker, you could also grill them. Charring them would give them a nice roasted flavor as well. All right, so let me get started on our next. So now we're going to grab our mandolin and we're going to start putting our salad together. So I'm going to take my mandolin, have a red onion. So I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. Just give myself a couple nice thin shavings of the red onion right here. So we'll go in with that. I have some nice red and yellow cherry tomatoes right here. Try a better knife. Just going to have these. Right. Add them in. And now I actually add fresh herbs to a lot of my salads. They give it a nice stronger flavor without really adding any fattening dressings or anything to it. So right here we have a little bit of flat leaf parsley. Again, a little bit of curly parsley to that. So we got both of them. A couple leaves of mint. So the mint you might want to break up or chiffonade before you put that in. It is a little bit of a stronger flavor. Add that in there, as well as a little bit of picked tarragon leaves. Tarragon itself, I think I said before, is one of my favorite herbs to work with. It goes very well with seafood. It is a little bit stronger flavor. It's almost like an anise flavor, along the lines of fennel and stuff like that. So if you like that. Okay, so now to that, we've got a few of the lemons that I have already roasted off. So we're going to go in here with this. And then just season this again. So salt, pepper, and a little bit of our olive oil again. So we've got that. I'm just going to mix all of this together and add a little bit of wild arugula to it. So we've got that, and then there's our roasted lemon salad right there. So again, it's very fresh. It's you can add anything seasonal in there that you like, really. Any of our pickled vegetables would go very well in that. And again, very, very, very simple and healthy and refreshing for summer. So, all right. Thank you. All right. Yes.
If we don't have access to any kind of outdoor space, what herbs would do well just with sitting inside?
As long as you have a good window, basil generally is fairly hardy. I would say basil, rosemary, thyme. Anything that has more of like a thicker, woodier stem would still grow very well. Would also say that they have a lot of herbs planted in the campus garden. I'm sure if you're on the tour next week, you'll see that. Everyone on campus is always welcome to go pick some of the stuff down there. So they have them growing all summer as well. So, all right. Yes.
With the pickling, I'm always kind of intimidated by the actual pickling process,
Okay.
putting the jars and all of it. But if you were to do something like that and just put it in a container, how long would that be good?
You'd have a couple weeks. Yeah. You'll know if it goes bad, I'll say. The first sign of it going bad, you'll actually get mold growing on top of the liquid. So if there's nothing on, yeah, if there's nothing floating on top, you're fine. But what you want to look for if you are intimidated, just make sure that you get a a good jar, a good self-sealing jar. So like ball jars are always very good. And all you really need to do is make sure you have the top half of the lid off. Just make sure that's seated on the center. Let it simmer, like put the whole jar like halfway up with water. Let it simmer for maybe 10 minutes and you'll actually see the top of the lid get sucked down. So if you can't, it kind of has the little, like on any drink that you would see, if that doesn't pop, you're good to go. So they really do just seal themselves. So, any other questions? I believe Joanne is bringing in the samples of everything right now.
What about grilling foods and herbs? What would work well with a steak, with chicken?
A steak, I would actually, the chimichurri sauce that we have with the radishes today would be really good. I'd say that actually is traditionally an Argentinian steak sauce. It's nice and vinegary, a lot of acid to kind of cut through the fat, stuff like that. So if you want to grill herbs, I would just make sure that you stay towards things that are woody, kind of like rose.
Like take herbs, combine them with olive oil, and then make some sort of
A paste or something?
just sort of a marinade, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you just want to make sure that if you're doing that, it's things that aren't going to burn easily. So I would, for those, I would stay more towards like thyme, rosemary, mix that with a little bit of garlic. I would tend to stay away from things like tarragon, things that are really going to kind of burn easily, and it'll add a little too much char to what you're grilling, I think. So. Okay. Yes.
I got a parsley plant last year.
Yes.
At the appreciation week,
Okay.
and I planted it, and it grew like crazy.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, well, what am I gonna do with all this parsley?
So-
Do you have like a ton of it? Like,
So there's a few way to preserve herbs. Again, I like pickling a lot of my herbs. They still use very well in recipes. And again, you have the vinegar and stuff. If that's not what you want to do, what I would do is just chop everything very fine, mix it with a little bit of olive oil, and actually you can freeze them in ice. If you freeze them in like an ice cube tray, they'll hold very well over the winter. So yeah, you can just freeze it in an ice cube tray. Pop once they're frozen, just pop them out and put them in like a Ziploc baggie. Yeah, it'll still be a fresh herb. It's not going to be as fresh as having like a fresh parsley leaf in there, but yes. And actually, I know there's a few companies actually starting to sell herbs like that in small freezer trays. So kind of in little cubes. So, but yeah, like again, anything you have extra, that and pickling are the two best ways to. So, and actually, if you want to try any of the pickled herbs, I have plenty up here.